there were two Mississippis, and they were separate and unequal. Everybody in Mississippi paid taxes, but the tax money only went to one segment of the population. The other segment of the population, descendants of formerly enslaved, were segregated from public facilities as well as private commercial ventures.
654 known lynchings over 73 years. That's a known lynching every 6 weeks. A known lynching. You can't vote. You can't serve on a jury. You can't convict those people of murder. One of several planks was the right to vote. Registering African Americans in the summer 1964.
And so that's very critical in understanding this whole entire movement here in Mississippi. These were young people on the forefront who were fighting for change and trying to make a difference here in this state.
Young people such as yourself understand when you had that defining moment and what you plan to do with your life. See, there is nothing that you cannot do. We want generations who will come behind you for you to be able to tell the stories of endurance, of tenacity, of long suffering, of suffering, and then even missions. Because that's, I see this generation of young people doing.
I did. Thursday night. Friday night I didn't have an excuse. What matters is did I finish my paper?
We did finish. You're right.
Was it the best paper I've ever written?
Maybe.
We'll see.
Oh, you can't catch us off guard like that.
Oh, it just stands at half court the whole game.
True. True.
So grab all your items and head over to the bus once you're done. We're all good to go, and we definitely look forward to making this a special experience. All right. Cool.
More so than like.
I want to learn more things that I thought I knew, but then like something comes and blows my mind and changes my perspective entirely.
It's definitely a pleasure to be in this space. Cooperation Jackson has been doing some great things here. You're going to hear from them tonight to share with you about some of the activism and the activities that's going on with them and the contribution that they made not only in the city of Jackson, but in the state of Mississippi and throughout.
Because in many respects, some of the opportunities that you all face are actually less than the opportunities that I was awarded with, and even less so than my parents in some respects. That's up for debate. Hopefully you all debate that amongst yourselves as you get older. But that was a serious question that I was just kind of posed with. From that nightmare, kind of evolved this organization, which is focusing on building the solidarity economy. It both works with people and works with our environment, which is far more important in the long term than maximizing profit, I would argue. So that's some of the bedrock of how Cooperation Jackson got born, just trying to figure out what are things that people in their own community can do to build some value and employment for themselves directly. And we're young, we're only 4 years old, so we're still learning, experimenting, struggling, failing, succeeding, all at the same time. But I think it's a dynamic experiment that already has some things I think that we can share and others can learn from.
Ow. Did you get that on camera?
Maybe.
Before the trip, I expected to come and kind of see what we were learning in class come and play into action, which I definitely think has happened. It is a little bit surreal because you learn about all this like local organizing, and when you're at TCU, you don't really know if that happens today because you're learning about it in the past, and also you're like in the TCU bubble, and so you're only seeing like campus life. And so coming to Mississippi and seeing like people that actually work in this kind of field is super interesting, and I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to just get to learn from them.
This space here was actually considered, well, it was a pool hall. It actually was owned by the same people who owned the restaurant next door. So they would actually come out of the restaurant, come over here, play pool, gather around. Now, one thing that I do want to make sure that you guys understand is that this movement that we're talking about and a lot of stuff that you've read about, I don't know if you really put it into context, but it was really young people who was moving, who was making this stuff happen. I mean, some of them were much younger than you guys. I mean, you got 14, 15, 18, some 20, 22-year-olds who were out there making these changes.
Yeah, I think yesterday when we were talking about how we can apply this all to our own activism really stuck out to me, because they were just normal people like us who were able to make such a difference. So that really stuck with me, because I was like, oh yeah, like really anybody who wants to make a difference can. They just have to stick with it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot, just because I feel like I never expected to be in a space like this and get to learn from people and just hear from activists. And so I feel really good about just being able to be inspired by them and empowered by the actions that they did and they keep on doing today. So.
If you don't believe that this is the one I added this verse just for me. If you don't believe that I've been to hell, been down into the south, follow me up to the parchment jail, been down into the south. Sing hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom. Hallelujah, freedom.
Everything was segregated. I mean, everything. And I had gotten humiliated so many times. And black folks had a limit as to how far we could go. Up or out, you know. I got to the Delta in 1962 through SNCC. And of course, through the Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. And you know that SNCC was the only national civil rights organization ran entirely by young people. Entirely. Students can have a real impact on communities and that energy. I remember Bob Moses, once he was asked, what about all these young people that you have around? What do you think about them? And he said they are characterized by a lot of restless energy. And unless we channel that energy in a positive fashion, it could be disastrous.
Seeing all of the places and all the people and meeting them as opposed to reading about them really makes you aware of like some kind of scary parallels, right, between like what's happening today and obviously what's happened in the past. And so I guess my example would be when we drive through Greenwood, you see, and I think it was Charles mentioned like, oh, this was where all the white people live and this was where all the black people lived, and then you look up and like it's still the same. And like nothing's changed, like it's still segregated. He was talking about like on either side of the river. And so when you see stuff like that and other things where you make comparisons between like, oh, it was like this in 1930 and oh wow, like it's still like that or very similar. I think it's like what they said about lighting a fire, like it just makes you aware like these are all still issues that need to be addressed in one way or another.
Not gonna lie, when we got to Greenwood, I was really disheartened because it literally looks like nothing has changed over 50 some odd years. Like we was going to the park where Stokely had his speech, like it was run down, it was not kept up, like it was just not good. And see, no SNCC buildings were even close to being up or even torn down. Like it was like it's so much history has happened, but people are forgetting it. And like the kids that we have, that we're gonna have, they're not gonna probably know what SNCC even is. And so like even just going to the restaurant in Greenwood, like how it feels like you're still in the 50s, and it's a reminder of things haven't changed that much, and that it's a lot of work that we need to do.
So my grandmother came out of the restroom and walked into the crowd and came over to what she says, what's the matter? And he said, this little nigger boy has been peeping in the restroom at white women. And my grandmother looked at him and said, you're a liar. This is my boy. I left him right here. I've been in the restroom. And grabbed me by my hand and took me out of there. So we get the bus and go home. But that did something to me. Now I'm wondering, what the hell is going on? Why was this person doing this to me? So my grandmother, she said, little black boys need to always be careful. Always be careful when you're alone, especially. And never, whenever there's a crowd of white people around, stay away. "5 miles out from here is the plantation, where Emmett Till was killed. I used to wonder why the name of this town kept popping up in the reading that I was doing about Till. And then I learned that the Andrew Plantation was the place where Leslie Mylan, the brother to J.W. Mylan, was an overseer on that plantation. So when they left money with Emmett Till, they brought him to this plantation where Mylan's brother was, and that's where they beat and killed him.
See the remains of the building. It's kind of a little eerie. Honestly, you kind of see where things went down. It's pretty interesting and pretty solemn right now. So yeah, that's about it. So I'm feeling right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, also, I feel like it's disheartening the amount of information, not only on this trip, but in this class that isn't part of the curriculum we're taught in high school or in other normal classes. I had never heard of who Emmett Till was until this class, and then after leaving that museum, that's such an important part of the civil rights movement that's not taught in our schools. So that was kind of depressing.
What really affected me was the Emmett Till museum, I guess, that we went to. That was something that I actually did know about before taking this class, so I didn't think I would be as emotional as I was, and it really made me depressed. It was really sad.
Whenever I went and I looked at the casket with Emmett Till in it, that was a very hard thing to see, and that wasn't even the real body. It was wax. And when I looked at it, what if my mom had to go through that? It was that I think that was really the tipping point for me. Yeah. That was one of those points.
City or town, village, sort of bird's eye view of what you would do without any of those problems.
Housing. You can have nicer houses also, but make sure no houses are bad.
We can make combinations of houses
Yes.
Draw our library over here.
Let's make it in there last second. Nobody broke. Anyways. Wow.
Downtown with City Hall, the hospital, and shopping district. We will not take any questions.
Can I ask one?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Curtis legal.
So, well, look like much, but it's very advanced. Our theme is called Wakanda. So we decided to put everything. No one else talking to each other. Are they segregated by color? I see a lot of separation.
Anything else? With a public art space in the public gathering space, and then a nice library off to the side of that. A nice, good hospital. Great, I don't know. Good hospital. Just good. With a bike rack next to it, so when you get healthy from the hospital, you can ride your bike elsewhere.
Yeah, in a perfect world, how would it make sense? Oh, another one. So listen, here's the deal.
What?
We just created our political system, and we don't have Congress people.
Oh, well, good, because I'm from the private sector. My name is Elon Crust. Look, my brother has an amazing restaurant. All the food is straight from community gardens. It's called Next Door. Not to be confused with the app, but we also love that app. I mean, it lets you know like when people are walking down the street or, you know, not like me, you know what I mean? So, the door, that's the front door. This is the back door where we can kick you out if your pants are sagging or you got a backwards hat. And we're gonna need to build a little highway here to access. Y'all don't have a regional government, but we got federal funding, and you can't really turn down billions of dollars in federal funding. Like whatever it's for, just take it, right? I've got a car that is totally diesel free. It runs on black coal, and we mine it from this community. And the people in the community can work there. It's great. It's great. It's innovative. It's the wave of the future. Coal.
Innovative. It's like throwback.
Alright, so can we just like
Like my group might have noticed that I got kind of heated. They wrote on our paper because we got in there and like they had us get in a circle and we talked about oppression, like what is it, like all these reasons behind it, like we're all excited, like yeah, like we find it, like, we're ready to go. We start working on these plans and then like you plan something and you work on it and like you're like motivated and they just come like right on it and it gets completely out of your control and all these things happen that you can't control and like I don't know, it's kind of overwhelming because like we want to work towards this, we want to get it done, but there's so much like going the opposite direction, and it was just like really like the first time I like noticed that and like felt that.
I agree, just because my group, we went kind of off on like a completely different limb and we kind of started talking about like all these pieces that have to do with our topic when we were building the mountain and like just trying to find the root cause and like find the person we need to talk to specifically. There was like too many people that we need to contact and like there's just so many things that feed into the way the system is, which just makes it harder for us to like organize and like to focus on one little thing because it's all like tied together.
We can live in the.
They can live in the park.
Yeah.
Hires more women, right?
Right now we're studying grassroots organizing, learning about that and hopefully changing the culture at TCU, so just kind of taking things away and applying it. But I definitely think just kind of picking and choosing what kind of tactics you want to apply when organizing. So I mean, we went over a bunch of things. Learning how to organizing and the types of organization is probably the biggest takeaway from today.
No segregation.
No segregation. No segregation. No segregation over me. Before I be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and come home to my Lord and be free and be free.
No more adults.
No more adults. No more adults. No.
I thought this slave haven tour was really cool because it was very, very informative. I feel like we don't talk that much about slavery. It's interesting to hear about some of the realities of slavery.
To my Lord and be free and be free.
No more slavery.
No more slavery. No more slavery. No
So what's one thing that you're gonna take home with you from the trip?
Probably the impact that the youth has and like what we can do, because I've always been scared of public authority because my parents kind of taught me, just don't make any trouble and stay to yourself, and now seeing like that their parents told them the same things and they still and they got to overcome so much. Just follow your heart.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was it even recording?
No, I'm gonna do it again.
Right? We learned so much about the movement being about that, right? Building leadership, developing those relationships. Yeah. Although there's 20 good leaders right here, that's a pretty good start. Get a lot done. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No. You're just absent-mindedly waiting. Well, I can work with this as a starting point.
Me, Ali, and Nick are starting an NAACP chapter. Our last meeting we had 73 people, so I guess that just having that support on campus, that's kind of how we're starting it, and next fall we're gonna continue. I guess we got a lot of people's perspectives, and we also were able to see the interest of people as far as board applications. Like, people are really invested and they want to get more invested.
I think for me, what I want to take with me is just kind of educating other people about what happened. I just know personally I didn't understand so much took place in history prior to taking this course, and I just want to make sure everybody is understanding what happened and just make sure we really push the fact of education and just to kind of better understand this nation's history, to understand kind of where we are now and how we can move forward with it.
So far is that TCU is still racist, and we as a class can work to change this, but it will take a while. Several faculty are in support of this movement, and we've learned a lot about what other schools have been using to win their cases and receive some of that documentation, and we're still talking to more schools. And then what we're doing next is that the fall semester is go time for us. We're really going to kick it into high gear and start trying to implement these requirements as quickly as possible. We're going to have a petition that goes along with the pledge we had people sign at mass meetings and tabling events in high traffic locations. We'll be continuing to edit the language of the core competency that we're forming in the subcommittee, have more mass meetings, and hopefully increase the attendance by a lot for those. Continue to gain support with the NAACP and other organizations and the Justice Coalition as a whole, and get more pledges, more phone numbers, contact information for students, form a large organizing committee to get all this done, and once we have that organizing committee, create strategy charts and tactics like we learned with our organizing training.
Also, like, we're just all really connected, and none of us want this to end, so like we're not gonna be like, okay, Justice Journey class is done, bye. Like, we're all connected and we're passionate about it, and we're gonna want to keep working on it. So I don't think like the motivation on our part is gonna be lost, because like, why would we put in all this work now into something we're so passionate about just to let it die?
I'm gonna sit at the welcome table, oh Lordy. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, one of these days. I'm gonna be a registered voter, oh Lord. I'm gonna be a registered voter one of these days, hallelujah. I'm gonna be a registered voter. I'm gonna be a registered voter one of these days. I'm gonna tell God on old Massey, oh Lordy. I'm gonna tell God on old Massey one of these days, hallelujah. I'm gonna tell God on old Massey. I'm gonna tell God on oh mercy, one of these days. We're gonna tell him as we sit at the table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table, oh Lord. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. Hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days.